As the pollination window goes on, there's that point where you're evaluating how well you did. You're kind of maybe beyond fixing something, but at least gives you an idea how successful the pollination was. This year we saw a lot of long silks. If we look at this particular ear right here, these silks are between 5 and 6 inches long. Typically we put on about a ½ inch of silk a day until we pollinate, which would tell us in this case, man, we've got 10 days in here where we didn't get pollinated real well. There is some color changing in here, so we don't know, maybe some of this is pollinated. What would cause 6 inches of silk? Typically that could be aphids waxing the tassel and not letting pollen drop. You could have missed your nick where you're stressed and the pollen and the tassel and the silk got off sync, which is rare anymore but can still happen. Or in this case, we had just too many wet, drippy days in a row where we couldn't get the pollen sacs dried out. We didn't get it pollinated. So we would want to react to this as far as how much of this do we have, give us an idea how hard that our yields were hit. We can't change the weather and we can't make it pollinate. So we would cut the husk off that ear at this stage. Try not to tear off the silks yourselves. So kind of be careful on how you shake it out of there and then give it a shake. And as feared in this situation, most of this ear is not pollinated, and we've been 5 days without pollen. So you see how long these silks are out here. What doesn't shake off isn't pollinated. Now, again, you can see a lot of it is at all stages of the ear that we see this silking. So it's a pretty good chance that this one here is up against the gun to get itself pollinated, and it's going to have what we call missed its nick. Other situations you might see any silk at all. So out here all the silks have been clipped off, and that would be insect feeding. Now this, if we're on time, we could do something about it. I got to have at least a ½ inch of silk, and I don't have that here. But you got to be on time to get those insects under control. So if we cut this guy open, and here too we can see a lot of silks don't shake off of here, and we can look at this ear and it's beyond fixing because this silk clipping has been taking place for a long period of time. It's beyond fixing. We cannot save those kernels anymore if we were to spray this with a pesticide to take out the silk clippers, which in this case Japanese beetle, rootworm beetle that are clipping the silks. But you can't fix this. You missed your window if that's your case. If this is the norm out there, you need to maybe step up your scouting on the front end side of this. But at least you know now that the yield's not there if you didn't get pollinated, and the reason was silk clipping. Versus over here, we didn't get pollinated, but it's a situation where we just had too wet mornings, too long, and we missed our window. We don't assume anything. Just because the silks are clipped doesn't mean it didn't get pollinated. It could be. And just because they're long doesn't mean that it didn't get pollinated. They could have been just the day before. And just because they're starting to turn brown doesn't mean they're pollinated. Again, this time of year, we need to take a little deeper dive and cut ourselves up to that ear and see what we've got. So if we give this one a shake, it did a better job of pollinating. But you can see there's still a lot of late pollinators in here. Now, again, we're going to lose some of these kernels that are scattered in and up and down this ear. They're not going to get pollinated in time. Losing one kernel, not a big deal. The kernels will fill in that starch area in between. Losing the whole tip or the bottom end of that is an issue. So just because we had rain and we didn't have drought during pollination doesn't mean we made it through without any hitches.